Is April 14th, 2025. We have a lot of severe weather coming as we go into late April and early May. Damaging winds, large hail, tornadoes, and potentially even some flash flooding. We're going to be walking you through the weather pattern over the next 2 weeks and giving you a diagnosis of what you can expect out your door as we go into late April and into early May. Make sure to like the video. Most importantly, give it a thumbs up. Share this video with friends, family, and on social media. And subscribe to my channel here by clicking the subscribe button for the latest accurate and reliable weather information on YouTube. I definitely appreciate it. We do have a risk of severe weather here today on Monday, April 14th, 2025, across the eastern ag belt and into the mid-Atlantic. We also have severe weather later this week here on Thursday, April 17th, back across the Midwest like Iowa, eastern Nebraska, and northern Missouri. And then an area stretching from Michigan all the way to North Texas as we go into Friday, April 18th. So we have 3 successive days of severe weather as we go through this week. So let's get back here into the weather pattern and talk about today first and foremost. So in the short term, severe weather, we have a slight risk of severe weather across eastern Kentucky, southern Ohio, most of the state of West Virginia, into north central Virginia, parts there of Pennsylvania and Maryland as well. That is a level 2 out of 5 on the risk scale in yellow. In the dark green, that's a marginal risk, level 1 out of 5 here in surrounding states. The biggest threat here for today will be winds in excess of 60 miles per hour in this yellow shaded color in areas there from Lexington, Richmond into central Kentucky, into areas of Cincinnati, over there toward Huntington, Charleston, and even Morgantown, Parkersburg, West Virginia, up there toward Pittsburgh, Washington, D.C., Roanoke, Virginia as well. Those are some of the areas that could be impacted by the wind. Same thing for hail in most of those cities I did mention. Hailstones quarter size or larger today. And then we do have a threat for tornadoes, especially into eastern Kentucky, southern Ohio, and West Virginia today, where we have a 5% chance of tornadoes in the brown shaded color, a 2% chance of tornadoes in the green shaded color within a 25 mile of any given point for those areas. So make sure you are on high alert today. Make sure you have your NOAA weather radios handy and they're on for your county. So if your county goes under a tornado warning, you are alerted to that as we go into this afternoon and this evening. What is driving it is a trough. We have a low pressure up here in eastern Ontario, just south of the Hudson Bay, and a trough with enhanced wind shear on the southern flank of it here across the eastern ag belt and into the mid-Atlantic. And looking here at our dew points, while they are low for what you look for in early to mid-May for severe weather standards, we still do see dew points advecting north from the Gulf into the eastern ag belt and into the mid-Atlantic here into the middle 50s, just in time for peak daytime heating, maybe even some low 60s here in southern Ohio and eastern Kentucky this afternoon. And that is going to raise our storm energy. This is what we call CAPE, convective available potential energy. This is over 2,000 joules per kilogram, and the strongest values in West Virginia and Kentucky this afternoon. And notice we look here as well at the low-level jet. This is the 850 millibar low-level jet, 1 kilometer above our heads, and this is where you look for potential for thunderstorm maintenance with the stronger winds aloft, but also the temperature or the wind direction with height changes a little bit as well, and this could cause some tornado potential. So we look at something called the significant tornado parameter space. The higher the number, essentially the higher the chance of tornadoes if a storm did interact in this environment. So as we go through the midday hours, notice those values are mainly around 1s and 2s, so they're very low. But as we go into the mid-afternoon and late afternoon here, peaking around 4 to 5 o'clock across eastern Kentucky, West Virginia, even parts of Maryland, even as far north as Pennsylvania. We have to watch for this as those values are going to be peaking 3s and 4s out of 10s there as we go through the mid and late afternoon hours around 4 or 5 o'clock. And then once the sun sets, we lose the energy, we lose the instability, and then we start to see the thunderstorm activity and tornado risk really go down after sunset. So let's look at what the radar could look like. It's a simulation of that as we go into the afternoon. This is noon time frame. We're watching the cold front back here in Illinois into northern Indiana and southern lower Michigan. As we go into the 3 o'clock hour, Notice we're watching for initiation 2 to 3 o'clock here near the Ohio River. Louisville up there towards Cincinnati as some supercell thunderstorms with hail initially will likely develop with potentially some 60 to 70 mile per hour winds, maybe even an isolated tornado threat. As we go into the 6 o'clock hour now, those storms are going to be racing east across portions of southern Ohio into portions there West Virginia and southwestern Pennsylvania, back building of storms here into Kentucky. And any one of these storms that interacts with that significant tornado parameter space we showed you, they could produce tornadoes and obviously damaging winds and large hail. And then once we lose the daytime heating by 9 o'clock this evening, we're just seeing more of the just more widespread storm activity because the low-level jets becoming a little stronger after sunset. And this is mainly going to be for a heavy rainfall threat with an embedded wind and hail risk. I think the tornado threat should be much lower here during the evening hours. And then once we go into the wee hours of the morning on Tuesday, we're going to dwindle down to some showers here as this pushes even further south through Virginia and into North Carolina. This also has a cold side to it as well. We actually have some snow up there in Ontario, some heavy wet snow for this time of year. And we even have some snowflakes flying in northeastern Minnesota. And as we go through the afternoon, those snow showers will continue to cross Lake Superior into the upper peninsula of Michigan, northern Wisconsin, ticketed for some snow as we go into the evening hours. And then northern and central lower Michigan here, we'll start to see some snow showers tomorrow morning as you're heading off to work or school. Don't be surprised in Michigan if you're seeing some snow showers out there. And then as we go through the afternoon, some snow squalls and maybe lake effect snowfall potentially across portions of New York State and northwestern Pennsylvania, from Erie, Pennsylvania, up to Buffalo and Watertown, New York. Be watching out for that Tuesday and into Wednesday. Overall, we could be seeing a little bit of a plowable snow here across the UP of Michigan, far northern Wisconsin, upwards to maybe 6 to 12 inches of snow, especially on the grassy surfaces and some slushy accumulations there. Northern lower Michigan could see around 1 to 3 inches. Again, grassy surfaces mainly and some slushy accumulation on the roadways. And then those snow squalls and lake effect snow bands may actually bring some enhanced snow totals to western New York State, Buffalo, Watertown, New York, the traditional areas we look for some lake effect snow, and then northwestern portions of Pennsylvania near Erie, Pennsylvania, maybe an inch or two there. Now going through the week here, we're going to be seeing the cooler air across the Great Lakes. That's what's bringing us the snow on the backside with a cold front coming through. We have warmer air and quite frankly record-breaking air across the south central plains. And we take a look at that as we go into this afternoon. We actually have some records possible across central and southern Texas, into East Texas today, well into the 80s, even into the 90s as we go into Tuesday. Cool front cools us off into the 70s, some 80s down there, maybe 90 into South Texas. And then as we go into Wednesday, notice the warmth roars back across the plains. We're into the 80s as far north as South Dakota and Nebraska. Thursday, it looks to be a big day for record-breaking highs from Kansas, Wichita, Topeka, all the way down here into Amarillo, and even portions there of eastern New Mexico could be into the 90s as we go into Thursday, April 17th. Friday, we're still seeing some warmer air, probably not record-breaking, but still well into the 80s for the Gulf Coast states. And then going into the weekend, cold front scours out some of the heat, and we're back to the 70s. So that's just the temperature regime as we go through the week. What about the pattern as we go forward? Well, here's the trough and cold front bringing the severe weather today into tonight and the snowfall through the midweek period. We have a ridge that's going to bring us some warmer record-breaking heat here across the south central U.S. by midweek. But as that ridge slides east, we're going to see a long wave trough. And why we call it a long wave trough, look at it, it's all the way up from the Hudson Bay and takes it all the way down into the Baja of California and Southern California. And that is a long wave trough. It's kind of stretched out like a rubber band, and it's going to take some time to eject. So that means a prolonged period of some severe weather activity across the middle of the country until this ejects early next week toward the mid-Mississippi Valley. And this could be bringing us a more potent round of severe weather with a more formidable storm system early next week by Monday, April 21st. But just looking here at the dynamics in play as we go into the week, we have the scouring out of the moisture behind the cold front as we go into Tuesday, but it's going to take some time. And once we do get that moisture return, especially by Thursday afternoon, and we're going to start to see those 50-degree dew points, maybe some 60-degree dew points going all the way up toward Iowa, Missouri, the eastern plains in general and the Arklatex regions. And then as we go into Friday, here comes another cold front, and it's going to be pooling some 60-degree dew points ahead of it for places like Chicago, St. Louis, Indianapolis, Detroit, all the way down to Paducah here, Little Rock. Those areas need to be on high alert on Friday for severe weather. And then going into Saturday, that may continue to bring some severe weather to the Ohio and Tennessee valleys. And we look here at the storm energy, the CAPE, the convective available potential energy, pretty low midweek, but it starts to rise as we go into Thursday. Plenty of storm energy there in the eastern plains, Midwest, Ohio Valley to the southern plains on Friday. And then Saturday, we just continue to have rounds of some instability and storm energy moving into the country during that time frame. So looking here at Thursday's severe weather potential, this is a slight risk. This is a 2 out of 5 here across Iowa. So places like Des Moines, westward to Omaha there in eastern Nebraska, northern Missouri near the Kansas City area, be keeping an eye on that. And as far east as the Davenport Quad Cities here on the Illinois and Iowa side, be keeping an eye on that for Thursday, mainly probably a large hail threat. And then as we go into Friday, we're looking at a threat for severe weather from Detroit and Grand Rapids through Chicago, Indianapolis, St. Louis, all the way back to Tulsa there, Springfield and Joplin, Missouri, Fort Smith, Arkansas, going all the way back there towards the Oklahoma City metro and just west of the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Damaging winds, large hail, and a couple tornadoes will be possible here. This is also a slight risk for severe weather. So looking here at the instantaneous flash rate, this is Thursday morning, could have some hailers across portions of the mid-Missouri Valley there, Iowa, Missouri, into eastern Nebraska. Additional storms Thursday night may take a run through Iowa into northern Illinois. And then going into Friday morning, could have a complex of some stronger thunderstorms across Iowa, southern Wisconsin, and northern Illinois up there that could produce some hail mainly, but some gusty winds here and a tornado threat if those storms can become surface rooted. Those look like elevated storms. And then as we go into the Friday afternoon time frame ahead of the cold front, we're going to fire up more storms on a scattered basis from Michigan to Texas here, and any one of these storms could produce winds, hail, and a tornado threat going there into portions of Friday. And then Saturday and Sunday, we're going to just continue to see bouts of isolated to scattered severe weather. Now, going through the weekend ahead, notice we have a very active pattern, right, as we mentioned. And then early next week, here comes the ejection of that trough, could be bringing us some severe weather toward the Mississippi Valley there on Monday, and then just successive rounds of some moisture moving through the rest of April. And this is going to be a very active weather pattern for the plains, the Midwest, and all the way to the Great Lakes here. And in fact, we're going to be adding up the moisture in a big way over the next several days. Notice how the moisture just continues, and it just continues over the same areas. Where you see the reds, you're looking at a good 2 to 3 inches of rain. Anywhere here in the brown and white shaded colors, you're looking at anywhere from around 4 to 8 inches of rain. And some areas could be near a foot by the time we're at the end of April. So that definitely could lead to some flooding in places like Oklahoma, Missouri, Illinois, all the way back to Texas and Arkansas again, with already saturated soils from recent significant flooding, but also additional rain and heavy rain in those areas. We'll be watching out for that. Now, going into early May, okay, I know this is the long-range outlook, but this is worrisome as we have, again, a ridge in the eastern U.S. and a trough out west, and that spells out the warmer temperatures underneath that ridge in the east, cooler temperatures out west, and where those temperatures clash right in the middle there in the central U.S., we need to be on high alert for the potential of more big storms with heavy rain and severe weather here across the Midwest, maybe even parts of the upper Midwest in early May, through the Mississippi Valley into the eastern plains, and this could be all the way down into East Texas here, especially along and east of the I-35 corridor. And the NIU team over there does a great job with the Week 3 accumulated supercell composite parameter. Basically what this shows you here is the brighter the color, the more likely the chance is for severe weather as we enter into the first few days of May. Notice this goes to May 4th, and especially in the plains up there toward the mid-Missouri Valley, parts of the Midwest. Notice some colors even go up there into the upper Midwest, the Ohio Valley, Great Lakes region, a widespread swath of some severe weather as we do go into early May. So a very, very active weather pattern is in store. So be looking out for that as we go toward early May. Thank you for watching. Make sure to like the video, give it a thumbs up, comment down below, and subscribe to my channel for the latest weather information. And I'll see you all in the next video.